We're now turning our attention to golf. The Masters 2018, the first major of the year. We'll be looking at the odds presented in the market as of 20th of March 2018. There's not long to go. Masters coming up in April. A lot of different things happening in the golf world at the moment. Tiger Woods coming to the fore and showing that there's still life in the old dog. Rory McIlroy winning last week at the Arnold Palmer, Bay Hill. Tremendous form, one of the big favourites for the Masters. So it's all coming together. A lot of players in tremendous form. There's a lot of value there. I've had a look at the betting, and there's a few names there at some big prices, which may be worth a chance. But also, we'll be looking at the likely winners, irrespective of odds, at the head of the market, who, are likely to be contending come Sunday on the fourth day. What we're looking for in the Masters, the profile we're looking for is someone who's a tremendous putter. Augusta is famous for some of the quickest greens in the world, some of the most difficult greens in the world. We're looking for someone who preferably has experience at the course, has done well at the course, knows it well. You have to kind of serve your apprenticeship at Augusta to learn its nuances. The event is held at the same course every year, so players that have performed well in the past will have experience of performing well on this course, will know the different nuances, will know where to drive the ball. Their course management will be well practiced, and those are the sort of players that we'll be looking towards. We want preferably long drivers of the ball. I mean, that's obvious in any golf tournament. Players that can boom the ball will have an advantage. Obviously, they've got to have a reasonable amount of control over their driving as well. You want to be playing from the short grass at Augusta. It does give you a huge advantage. Players that can draw the ball. There's so many holes at Augusta that require you to draw the ball off the tee. It really does help if you can move it from right to left. The one that comes to mind is the 13th hole, the par 5. It's a birdie hole. It's an eagle hole for some players. Over the years, players have always been able to get there in two. If you can get the ball turning from right to left off the tee, draw the ball around the corner, leave yourself with a mid-iron into the green, it's really going to give you a chance to fire at the pin and potentially hold an eagle putt, or at least make 2 putts and make a birdie. There's plenty of holes like that at Augusta that rely on the draw. If you can draw the ball, it's a big advantage. We also want players that can perform under pressure and have a track record of performing under pressure on the final day at big tournaments. There's a lot of people watching the Masters. There's a lot of history associated with the Masters. There's a lot of cameras. There's a lot of attention. You need players that have performed under pressure in big events and can handle that. Come Sunday, the back nine, we've seen people crumble in the past. We've seen Greg Norman succumb in 1996 to Nick Faldo, who had a lead. The pressure got to him, and Nick Faldo snuck up on him. We've seen it time and time again at the Masters. We want people that can be dependable. They're in the mix at the end. They stay strong. See out the tournament. Those are the type of guys we're going to be looking towards. We're going to straight away discuss Rory McIlroy. He won last week. One of the best players in the world. One of the best swings in the world. One of the biggest hitters in the world. He's the type of guy that when he wants it, when he's fully focused, when he's in a good place in his life, he's as dangerous as anyone else in the field. Sometimes he does go missing, but the talent that he's got it's near enough unrivaled. There's a lot of talented players around at the minute, but McIlroy definitely up there. He's as short as 8-1 as the favourite for the Masters at the moment. And it's a worthy favourite. I mean, if you've heard my views on golf betting before, pre-tournament, I like to go for big numbers, so I won't be taking 8-1. If Rory McIlroy produces that same level of performance that he produced last week in the Bay Hill Invitational and wins the Masters, then that's fair enough. I'll just enjoy it and watch him do it. I won't have money on it. At 8-1, I just think there's better value options around, so I'll be looking for a bit more value in the market. Next we're going to talk about is Tiger Woods, who's come up as 9-1. The mind boggles. The mind boggles. It's a very short price, 9-1. I know he's shown some glimpses of form recently. He's been amazing. He's been getting people excited. He's got me excited. I've always been a big fan of Woods, but even I won't be backing him at 9-1. I know a lot of people have got on earlier on, like months ago. He was 66-1. Weeks ago, even you might have got a lot better prices. It certainly wasn't 9-1. If you got on then, well done, because that is value. If you've got 66 to 1 on Woods, who's showing signs of returning to his best and rekindling those glory years, the form of glory years, then fine. But if you're taking it at 9, you've got to leave it. The reason the odds are so low is it's not really a reflection of the likelihood of his winning. It's a reflection of the bookies covering themselves, and they don't want to be left exposed. All these money they've taken at 66 to 1, that worries them. There could be, if he plays well, Woods, and comes to the fore, there's a chance that they'll be taken for a ride. They'll be taken for a lot of money. And a lot of people just bet on Tiger Woods because he's a name they know and they like him. They might not even watch golf. They might just know the name and think, oh, Tiger, he's looking dangerous. He's got, 14 majors. He's won at Augusta several times. Let's just go for Tiger. He's Tiger. So the bookies are just, making sure they don't take too much money on him. So 9 to 1, yeah, that's fair enough, but it can stay there. It's just an interesting anecdote. I don't think it's a betting opportunity whatsoever. It's probably, for me, it's one to avoid. Other people may think otherwise. Seeing Tiger Woods the last 2 weeks produce stunning form tee to green and looking a bit more like what he used to be, but as much as I like him, I'm not going to be backing him at 9 to 1. If we look in the market, we've got Justin Rose 14 to 1, someone I backed last year. He came second to Sergio Garcia, landing his maiden title in 2017. I was a bit aggrieved with Rose. I thought he could do it. He's a very steady performer. He's very reliable. He's 14 to 1 in the betting. He's a player I like because of his game, because of his experience. The fact he's the 2013 US Open champion. He won that at Merion. It's a tough course. But he's got that steady game, that steady swing, that temperament, which is unwavering. He's someone you can back in majors. The thing is, I would have liked a little bit more on him. 14 to 1. I got more than that last year. It's probably due to his form, his course form and that performance that he's a bit short. He's played all right this year. He's done well. Won tournaments, been dangerous, but 14 to 1, I'll be looking for a little bit more, something around the 20s. So I'm going to look past that. And anyone who backs Justin Rose is a tremendous bet. Jordan Spieth, 11 to 1. He's not been as red hot as he has been. He's one of the true greats already. He's a Hall of Famer at his young age. 11 to 1, for me, it's a bit short. I can see why that's the price. If people want to back him, I can't say anything negative about that. He's Jordan Spieth, multiple major winner. But I'm going to look past it just on value. Same one I'm going to look past is Dustin Johnson. He's got the power game. He's always favoured. He's got the talent, but 9 to 1, it's just a price issue. I'm looking for a bit more. Jason Day, 14 to 1, fair enough. Reasonable price. Again, I'm going to look for a bit more value. It's probably about right. That could have maybe got 16 or 18 on day, going by current form. Ricky Fowler is someone I like. 20 to 1, I'd consider it. At this stage, it's not one that I'm going to go for. I might think about it a bit more. I think that price is about right on Fowler. He's very dangerous. Compared to some of the shorter prices out there, I think that's reasonable. You've also got Justin Thomas at around 10 to 1, which is fair enough, bearing in mind his form, bearing in mind the fact he's a major champion, winning the PGA Championship last year. Me personally, I'm going to look for a bit more value, but Thomas is probably worth that 10 to 1. I would have liked a little bit more. Well, you always want to get a little bit more, but 10 to 1 is a bit short for me. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't make it any less likely that he'll win the tournament. It's just not a value betting proposition for me. So moving on, we've gone through some of the short price favourites that I've overlooked. I'm going to get straight into some value plays. I'm just looking for numbers where the bookies have presented a number which presents more than their likely chance of winning, in my view. Tommy Fleetwood is 35 to 1. I'm going to say straight away that number is probably about right. Fleetwood been in tremendous form. He's a great player. I saw him at the BMW PGA Championship last year. I just saw the way he strikes the ball. He's a young man, 27 years old. He's really performing well. He's really caught the eye now. Last year he was a little bit unheralded. He's not now. People know he's a threat, and the bookies know he's a threat. That's why he's down at 35 to 1. I'm backing that simply because he's just a player in a phase of his career where he's coming to his sort of peak performance. I think he's going to do something big in the next year or two. So I'm going to go with Fleetwood at the Masters. Not a massive value play. It's more of a form play, and it's a gut play, really. He didn't even make the cut at the Masters last year, but the performance which caught my eye was the 4th in the US Open. To come 4th in the US Open it's not easy. The US Open tracks are tight. It takes a lot of discipline in the game. It takes good tee to green. And for Fleetwood, at this young age, to come fourth in the US Open and produce stunning form in all other tournaments that he competes these days, I think it's time that I look at him closely. And at 35 to 1 each way, I'll have a go. Mark Leishman is the next one I'll take, and that's not a surprise for anyone who has ever listened to golf on this channel. Reliable, second in the Open 2015, tied fourth in the Masters 2013. So he's got that track form, he's got that course form, he's got that nous at the course, he's got that comfort level at the course. And someone as reliable as him, he's often overlooked. He's not one of the names that are often touted around, but if you look at his record, it's second to none. You know, if I can get Mark Leishman at 50 to 1 in any major, I'll take it. So Mark Leishman, 50 to 1. I'm going to also go for Henrik Stenson, who at the moment is 40 to 1, and I was surprised. I can remember it last year being somewhere around 28 to 1 in this event. 40 to 1, he's just played amazingly well in the Bay Hill. He was leading after 2 rounds and looking dangerous. The bookies had shortened him up to 11 to 4 going into the weekend for the final 2 rounds. After that performance, obviously didn't win the tournament. Rory McIlroy came on and won, but it's showing signs that he's in form. He hits the ball so far. He's got that major winning pedigree, US Open champion. Silver medal in the Olympics, just coming second to Justin Rose, who managed to secure the gold. Just a tremendous player to watch. I think 40 to 1 is value. You know, it probably should be 33 or something like that. So 40 to 1 will take it. Someone of his pedigree, Ryder Cup nous, Masters experience, major experience. You can't look past him. We'll take Stenson. I'm going to take Brooks Koepka, 50 to 1. US Open champion, reigning US Open champion. Won it in tremendous form. Hasn't caught headlines in the last couple of months, but that's a good thing in a way, because it means you get a little bit more value on him. Had he been performing in these last few weeks and months, he would have been, 16 to 1, 14 to 1. So we'll take, if you can get 50 to 1 on Brooks Koepka, it's a bit similar to the Leishman play. Take it. It's value. I'm not going to look past Brooks Koepka at 50 to 1. Then those are my major picks. Stenson, Fleetwood, Leishman, Koepka. Those are the ones that have really caught my eye. I've got some really high value bets as well, sort of each way. High numbers. Hail Mary bets, I like to call them. Where I've spotted some really big numbers on some players that have a chance. They may have been overlooked. They might not be the biggest names. I mean, let's have a quick look at those sort of names. Zach Johnson is a former Masters champion, and he's 125 to 1. Now, I know he's not one of the names that are bandied around every week. He's not a glamorous name, but he's a solid name. He's a Ryder Cup player. He's an experienced player. Tremendous wedge player, tremendous putter. Tidy player. Keeps hitting play. Lots of greens in regulation. Know-how at the course. He's got experience. He's got the temperament. He's dealt with pressure at the highest level. He's seen it all. There's nothing he hasn't seen before. So when you get him at 125 to 1, whether he wins or not, you've got to have a go. You don't have to put a lot of money on it. It's 125 to 1. That's definitely one I'll take each way. I'm also going to take Pat Perez, someone who I follow closely. His odds have shortened up recently. He's won tournaments in the past year. He's been around a long time. He's a steady performer. He's not the biggest hitter in the world. But he's just very experienced, and he's someone who has some track record in terms of performing under pressure in majors. He was tied 6th in the PGA Championship 2005. His best performance at the Masters is tied 18th. That was last year. You might look at that and say, 18th, wasn't even in the top 10. Has never scored in the top 10. I just think his form is reasonable. I think he's a steady player. I think he's an experienced player. And at 125 to 1, you've got to have a look. It could have been, 66. It could have been 80 to 1, but 125 to 1, there's value there as far as I'm concerned. So I'll be looking towards Pat Perez. Small stakes. These are big numbers, so you don't need to go mad. I'm also going to be looking at Martin Kaymer. He hasn't really done that well at the Masters. It's a bit of an oddball selection, but he's 150 to 1, multiple major winner, Ryder Cup player. His form at the moment isn't great, but there's another player I saw at Wentworth last year in the PGA Championship, still hits the ball well. He still has all that pedigree, all that experience, that has led to those major wins. Still a quality player at 150 to 1. It's a long shot, but each way you've got to put a few, got to put some stakes on that. I'm also going to look at Ryan Moore, someone who's overlooked, but he's just a steady performer. I kind of put him in a similar sort of bracket as Leishman, as being a dependable, reliable, keep it in play type of player. Obviously, Leishman is more of a Premier player these days. He's moved up the rankings. His odds have certainly shortened. But having said that, I do like Ryan Moore in the same way. If we look at his major record, it's a stellar major record he's got. He was tied 9th in the Masters last year, so a top 10 finish. Tied 10th in the US Open 2009. I know that's a long time ago, but it just shows his major pedigree. We've got tied 12th in the Open 2014. PGA Championship, tied 9th in 2009. I mean, this is a guy who knocks on the door of top 10s in majors. He's overlooked often, not a fashionable guy, not a name that adorns front pages. You won't see him on front of GQ any time soon, but that doesn't mean he isn't a solid player. That doesn't mean he's someone that should be overlooked. And the price that we've got on Ryan Moore at the moment, 125 to 1, you can get 150 to 1. I mean, you've got to have a serious look at a player like that with that much major pedigree, someone who's performed in and around the top 10s of majors. At that sort of price, we'll look at him as well. There's the other players that have claims, which we won't necessarily look to back. Hideki Matsuyama's 28 to 1. Now, he hasn't done much recently, but he was on fire. If you go back 6 months, he was the most dangerous player on the tour. 28 to 1 is a reasonable figure. Something about his form at the minute just puts me off a little bit. That's the reason I won't go for it, but I had to mention it. Because of the big players, I do consider Matsuyama to be one of the elite players around in the world at the moment. That's a reasonable figure, 28 to 1. It deserves a mention. Jon Rahm is 16 to 1. Amazing form, burst onto the scene. Winning tournaments, hitting the ball miles, just every week. It's the consistency of Rahm that's scary. Rahm is 16 to 1. I think it's about right in terms of price. But, you know, you've got to look at him just because he's been in red-hot form for so long now. And he's so dangerous. Phil Mickelson, 18 to 1. I'm not going to take it. He's been in great form. He's won a tournament recently. People are getting excited. Obvious claims, obvious records at the Masters. Won it loads of times. I'm going to look past it. I would have liked a bit more on Mickelson, to be honest with you. We're basically, by taking a bet on Mickelson at 18 to 1, you're basically saying he's going to break Jack Nicklaus's record of being the oldest winner at Augusta. I think he was 46 when he won. Mickelson can do it. If anyone can do it, if anyone can break Jack's record, it's Mickelson. He can do it, but I would like a bit more value on it. 18 to 1, yeah, it's a bit short. You'd need sort of mid-20s at least. So I'm going to look past that. Bubba Watson, 22 to 1, multiple winner at Augusta, recent winner on the tour. Everyone's getting excited about him again. Big character, big hitter, great short game. Good putter when he's on. Sometimes his putting goes missing. It has gone missing the last sort of, 12 to 18 months, other than that tournament win and other than, these last few weeks where he's come into form. So I've still got my doubts about him. I think 22 to 1, it's okay. Again, it's another one I'd like a bit more on to actually back it. Paul Casey, 25 to 1, recent winner on the tour, Ryder Cup player, very experienced. I think he's sort of in 40 now, in his early 40s. He's been around a long time. Big hitter of the ball. I do remember him doing well at the Masters over the years. He's always performed reliably. 25 to 1, it's okay. It's an okay number. I would hope to get a little bit more, maybe 33s. But he has to be mentioned because he's in good form at the moment. Alex Noren, 35 to 1, definitely worth a glance. One of my favourite players, favourite European players certainly. Very solid game. He's going to win a major, I believe, at some point. But 35, yeah, it's okay. I would have liked 40 maybe, slightly more than the 35. That's the only reason I've overlooked it, but definitely worth a mention. So I think we've gone over a lot of the short price players. We've gone over players that have a chance, but maybe the odds aren't right for us to back them. We've gone over the players that are value or present value in my view. So going over those again, Fleetwood 35 to 1. We've got Stenson 40 to 1, Leishman 50 to 1, Brooks Koepka 50 to 1. And then in the Hail Mary sort of extreme value selections, taking a bit of a flyer at value odds, we've got Pat Perez each way 125 to 1, Zach Johnson 125 to 1, Martin Keimer 150 to 1, Ryan Moore 125 to 1. In these sort of major tournaments, the bookies will give you at least 7 places each way. So, some will even go higher. In the week, you get some bookies offering you obscene places, 8 places. Just keep your eyes open. take those offers up, give yourself the biggest chance to gain a return with as many places as possible. Most importantly, enjoy the tournament. Please give your comments. Who do you think is going to win? Why do you think they've got claims? I mean, there's so many players in the field. There must be some that I've missed that you've seen and think are tremendous value. So please comment if that's the case. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. And most importantly, enjoy the tournament.